So there's loads we've got to pack into this video. In a moment, I will take you through the best cards, an update on the longest 0% promotions on balance transfers and purchases, the highest paying cashback, the best ones to sort of use overseas, all that kind of stuff. I will get to that in the second part of this video. But we're going to kick off with some news, loads to tell you about here. New cashback credit card from Lloyds, big changes to Amex Platinum and BA cards, and some other sort of things going on with Sainsbury's Bank credit cards, and much, much more. Let's start off with the Lloyds cashback credit card. This is brand new. It launched just right at the end of July. And at first kind of glance, it looks like a winner. It will give you up to 0.5% back on your purchase every pound that you spend. Now, that sounds a lot better. As we go later on, I'll take you through a lot better than the other Visa and MasterCard credit cards, which pay 0.25% at most on your general purchases. So straight away, double, right? Winner. However, when you look into this a little bit more, I'm sad to say it's not as great as I had hoped originally. First up, the most important thing, as we'll get to in a moment, if you are using an American Express credit card, a reward credit card, or a cashback credit card, even a points credit card, for most of your purchases, which I think you should be, as long as you're confident with credit cards, you can clear that balance every single month. You're going to be earning more than that 0.25% or that 0.5%, okay? You're going to earn more than that elsewhere. I'll take you through the best cards in a minute. So straight away, you're only going to be using this Lloyds card when you can't use your American Express card. Now, that is a small, very small bunch of businesses and retailers, really, in my experience. Yes, there are some places, and maybe you might find there's a big purchase that comes along which doesn't take Amex, so you have to put it on a different card. So why I always recommend having a backup card for those situations. But most of the time, you're going to be using your Amex, yeah? So that means your other purchases, well, maybe you'll get up to 0.5%, yeah? However, that 0.5% only jumps in when you've spent $4,000 on that Lloyds card in a calendar year. So for the rest of this year, we've only got less than 5 months left now. So to spend $4,000 on that other card, I think it's going to be very unlikely. So you'll be going in 0.25% on that card for the rest of 2021. And even next year in 2022, I think most people will struggle to get 4K on that card because, as I said before, most of your spending is going to be on the Amex, which earns you more points or more cash back. So realistically, this card, as great as it seems, you're just going to get 0.25% on it. And if that's an option for you, there are other things you should look at. I will go through some of those cards later on. But for example, specific retailer cards like Amazon and John Lewis, you can earn more when you shop with them. Or you might be able to get cash back overseas as well with a card. So I'll take you through those later on. But ultimately, this Lloyds cashback credit card, if you don't have a backup to Amex right now, it is worth considering. It is a decent option, but it is not the best option out there. And you really should prioritize, if you haven't got any cashback credit cards, as we'll get to later on, prioritize an American Express card. Now, speaking on that, a couple of news stories to tell you with American Express. If you watch these videos regularly or saw the one that I published just a few weeks ago, you'll be aware already that the American Express Platinum Cashback credit card and the American Express Platinum Cashback Everyday credit card, it's always a mouthful to get those cards out. The rates of those dropped. It dropped on the 4th of August this year, so just a few days ago from when I'm publishing this video. It's still, well, both of them are still decent cards, but they're no longer my top picks for cashback cards, whether as a new customer or as an existing customer. I will go into a bit more detail later on about which ones are my top picks, but for more information on all of that stuff, look at that Best American Express Cashback Credit Cards video in its entirety to get the full picture. As I mentioned, there were also changes to the two British Airways American Express credit cards. There's the free one, the British Airways American Express card, says what it is. And there's the one which comes with an annual fee, the British Airways Premium Plus American Express credit cards. Now, the draw for these cards historically has been that if you spend a certain amount with them, you will get what's called a companion voucher, a 2-for-1 voucher. So if you were to book a flight using your Avios points that you would earn with these cards, and you had enough of those points to book flights, I'm never a big fan of these points because of that very reason, but you could potentially get a 2-for-1 voucher and use that for exactly the same flight. So the person sitting next to you on that same flight would get a free ticket, right? And that, if you spend enough money on your Amex in a year to earn enough points to trigger those vouchers and to have enough to actually put them towards a flight, they could be really fantastic money savers. I've never used one though, because those thresholds have been really, really high, particularly if you wanted to try and use your points as well to upgrade again, not just from premium economy, but into premium economy, onto business, or into first class. So I've never gone for it. I've much preferred earning points, earning cashback, hunting around for the best deals, using them as I could. But I understand why they've been popular. Now though, it's going to be harder, even harder, to get the value out of those. So this is what's happening in the big stories from the 1st of September. So in just a few weeks' time, 3 or 4 weeks' time, the British Airways American Express card, the free one, the threshold in order for you to get that 2-for-1 voucher is dropping, right? Good news, you might think. Yeah, it's dropping from £20,000 a year to £12,000 a year. So you're more likely to activate this 2-for-1 voucher. So you're basically getting one flight for the free when you buy another one, yeah, with your points. However, you'll only be able to use it on economy tickets. You won't be able to use it on any of those other ones. And that is where you start to lose that value from just shopping around and buying the best flight you possibly could, potentially with a different airline at the time that suits you. I'm not saying it's completely a bad thing. It might work out for you, but that's going to mean that card, although it's free, isn't such a big draw for people. The paid card, the premium card, the Premium Plus, I should say, BA Premium Plus American Express card, the fee on that is jumping up. That is going from £195 a year to £250 a year. So an extra £55 you'll have to spend. Those 2-for-1 vouchers, which incidentally activate at a much lower spend, just 10k you need to spend to get that 2-for-1 voucher. So that is much more achievable, though you do have to factor in that you're paying that fee. From the 1st of September, if you get one of these vouchers, you trigger one of these vouchers, you can't use it with any vouchers that have been triggered before the 1st of September. Now, for most people, that's not going to be a problem if you're just a couple. But if you're a family and you're trying to get 2 free tickets, you've got a voucher here, you're saving up, and a lot of people do this to get 1 voucher, get the next voucher, and 4 people can go away for the price of 2. You won't be able to combine those vouchers. Although there is some good news, because apparently there are going to be more seats available for your voucher, which we'll be able to use not just in economy, but in those other classes that British Airways offers. So lots of you to think about that. If you currently have a British Airways Amex card, either of those ones, go online, do some research, read a little bit more about what your options are. You might find that it's too late now for you to kind of switch between them, or to trigger the spending that you might need to do in order to qualify for a slightly better premium voucher on the free card. Can you get to £20,000 in the next month? I mean, it's a big ask anyway, I think, let alone in the next month. You might be stuck with a lower voucher, or you might find you want to go up to the premium card, the one that costs money for you every single year, but you might feel that's valid if you can use that companion voucher in a higher class. Overall, though, I still don't recommend these particular cards. I still stick with some of the other cashback and reward cards, which I will detail in a moment. A couple more news stories to tell you about as well. Very briefly, these ones. This take you over to my screen so we can show you. There is the UK's first digital-only credit card has been revealed. It's been announced. You can get it now. It's called BIP. The people behind it are New Day, and they do a lot of the credit cards out there, including the Amazon credit cards, but many, many more that you'll know about as well. So big hurrah, right? It's a digital card. I don't think it's that exciting, but you might see marketing. I want to sort of make it clear to you why I'm not a huge fan of it. First of all, yes, it's digital. That's fantastic. But if you actually want to use it in a shop, let's face it, lots of us will, although digital is great, you will need to have a smartphone with the likes of Apple Pay or Google Pay or Samsung Pay, something like that, in order to use it in shops. I'd much, much rather have a credit card which I can use both digitally and physically, right now at least. So there's that element, which isn't fantastic. It makes a lot about the noise about the app itself and the fact that you can set some alerts. And this is a nice little feature. You can set a warning alert, a warning cap. So when you hit a certain amount of spending, it'll say, hey, did you know you spent this much on your credit card? And it also can set you a freeze cap. So if you hit a certain amount of spending, it stops spending. Not just the actual credit limit, you can set your own one, which is lower. Now, I like that flexibility. I like the ability for you to be able to do these things. But ultimately, if you're worried about spending too much on your credit card, then maybe you shouldn't be using a credit card for those purposes. Maybe you need to be sort of taking much, much more proactive action there to ensure that you don't blow your budget. I know that's not as simple. I know sometimes people, this sort of creeps up and they don't realise. So it's nice little features to have. But ultimately, if you are worried about that, I would suggest sort of taking other actions. It also has a feature, a little calculator, which will show you how much money you can save if you pay more than the minimum. Which is nice, and that might trigger some people to go, oh, blimey, look at how much interest this is charging me. And it's a rate of 29.9%, incidentally. But as I always say, the golden rules with credit cards, and I'll repeat it again in a minute, no doubt. If you're using a credit card, ideally this should be for spending you can afford every single month. You're just changing it over, you're switching it over to a credit card rather than using your debit card to earn rewards or consumer rights protection or whatever it might be. If you are using a credit card with the knowledge that you aren't going to be able to afford to pay it off every single month, then you want to pay attention to the interest rate. And as I said, 29.9%, you can see it there on the screen. That is massive. So I would ignore that one. I wouldn't go for this card. There's no reason to go for this card right now. I like the innovations. It could be that we find, more of these things come to other cards, other things later on, but it doesn't really deliver anything there. And the only other thing to mention is there are no extra fees. Obviously, there's interest if you don't pay it, but there are no extra fees if you miss a payment or for spending abroad, which is a bonus. We like cards which don't charge you for spending overseas. However, there are loads of other options for fee-free spending overseas which have extra features. And it could even be the best one's my top pick. Actually, it isn't even a credit card. It's a debit card from Starling Bank. So again, wanted to let you know about this, but it's not going to be one that I'm going to be recommending. So don't get caught up. If you're a fintech fan, you like the apps, you like the digital stuff, I still wouldn't go for this. Now, the only other thing to tell you about very, very quickly is Barclaycard has announced a new rewards extra feature if you have a Barclaycard credit card. You have to sign up for this. You have to register at the address here, cashbackrewards.uk.barclaycard. But you do that, you link your card up, and every time you spend with it, if there is a participating offer from one of these retailers, you'll get that cashback added straight to your card. You don't need to activate it, which is really nice. The likes of American Express and Halifax and all the other ones, generally you have to go in, don't you, to the card, hit activate, otherwise you won't get the money. Not a huge amount there. Again, this can change and it's a personalised offers based on your spending. I don't use my Barclaycard for spending particularly, but you've got Uber Eats, Costa, Holiday Inn, Europcar, Thomas Cook. There's not a huge number on there and nowhere that I'm massively going to go to right now. And also bear in mind that you might be able to get similar offers on other cards or better offers. But it's a nice thing you could combine potentially with other cashback sites as well, such as Quidco and Top Cashback. Told you there was loads to pack in. Right, let's get into the top credit card offers and promotions for August 2021. Big news. Before I do this, I mentioned it before. Make sure you only get a credit card if you are confident you can afford to pay it off completely every single month. You do not want to get charged interest. That is why in the cards that I mentioned right now, I do not talk about interest rates because I do not want you to pay interest. If that is going to be a concern, first of all, see if there's help you can get elsewhere. Free spending, essentially free borrowing elsewhere, or ways to help you clear down debt so you don't have to borrow. Or if that is a concern, then look for the lowest possible interest rate. But ideally, I don't want you to spend it at all. This is for people who can hopefully manage it and use it to their advantage. The other thing is never apply straight for a credit card from their website. Always do an eligibility check first of all. Now, sometimes those websites will give you that option. Here, do an eligibility check here, see how likely it is we'll give you that credit card, okay? And then you give it a chance of, should I go for it or should I not? Because if you get rejected, that will impact your credit report. However, I would suggest you actually go to a comparison site first of all. They're all pretty much muchness. They will only show you the cards generally that they will get paid to sell to you, so you won't necessarily get the whole of market. But I particularly like Money Saving Experts Credit Club. Yes, you won't see everything. Again, it is, as I mentioned, only the cards which they are paid to promote, but there's a lot more editorial around the cards and you can get a good understanding, a good sense of which card you're most likely to get. So let's start off with the best cashback credit cards. Spoken a lot of them already at the top of this video. Now, if you are new to cashback cards completely or new to American Express, or at least haven't had one in your name in the last 24 months, then I would recommend going for the American Express Preferred Rewards Gold credit card. This one comes with a staggering £184 bonus. That's how much you can get in the first 3 months if you spend £3,000. Now, really important to say here, that is if you're happy to convert your points you earn into Nectar points. So basically you're using them then at Sainsbury's or Argos or eBay or places like that. If you're not happy with that, the value goes down, but it's still a very, very, very good option. The other big drawback is, as I mentioned, you have to spend £3,000 exactly to get that bonus. If you spend a penny less, you don't get any of that at all. You only get your money for your everyday spending. If you think that's going to be a problem, you could wait until there's a big purchase coming up, or look at some other cards which have smaller thresholds. The Amex Nectar has a £2,000 threshold before you get the bonus points there, or the cards I mentioned at the top, the Platinum Cashback and the Platinum Cashback Everyday credit cards, they give you 5% of the first £2,000 or £2,500 that you spend. So if you spend just £1,000, you'll get 5% of £1,000. Now you're missing out obviously on some free money, but at least you're guaranteed to get it if you think you'll struggle to hit those upper levels of those spendings. Next up, everyday spending on your Amex Cashback card. The top one now is the American Express Nectar credit card. Again, you are earning Nectar points, which might be a problem if you don't shop at Sainsbury's ever at all. But this will give you 2 Nectar points for every £1 you spend. That's the equivalent of 1% back for all of your spending. Now, there is a fee on this that is wiped out in the first year. Plus, if you apply via a cashback site, in fact, this is the truth for most of the cards I'm talking about today, go via a cashback site to get an extra bonus. You'll get a little bit more as well. If you go into year 2, then you need to factor in how much you're going to spend on this card, whether that £25 annual fee actually outweighs some of the free options. But overall, I think this is probably the best one for you. Next up, the best Visa and MasterCard cashback credit cards. As I said at the top of this video, I think it's always worth having one of these for places that don't take American Express. And as I mentioned in that first news story, the Lloyds cashback credit card is pretty decent. 0.25% at every retailer, every £1 you spend, up to £4,000 in the calendar year. Then it goes up to 0.5%. So it's definitely worth considering. However, my picks would be, if you ever shop at John Lewis and Waitrose, I would get the John Lewis and Partnership credit card because you get 1.25% back for spending in those 2 stores, 0.25% elsewhere, so the same pretty much as the Lloyds card. Or if you're an Amazon Prime member and you spend a lot on Amazon, then the Amazon Platinum credit card will give you 1.5% back on Amazon purchases, 0.25% everywhere else. Downside with those cards, slightly small downside, is that you get these in points and you only get a payout when you hit a certain threshold. So it could take a while to get the money back, whereas the Lloyds one, that will pay you on the card's anniversary every single year. So you're guaranteed to get something every 12 months if you use it. The other one I would talk about here, and this takes me on to the next section, the best fee-free spending cards overseas. This is the Barclaycard Rewards credit card. You can get it, you can spend it, you can take money out of cash machines, no charges at all abroad, and you'll earn 0.25% cash back at home and overseas. There are no other cards that will earn you that money abroad. So I would personally think that's a better option than the Lloyds one if you're likely to go on holiday. Of course, who knows when that's going to be for most of us. Now, another reason why credit cards can be really useful is if there's something really expensive coming up that you know you can afford it, but you can't afford it right now. You need to spread that cost out over a certain amount of time. And this is where 0% purchase credit cards come into play. If you get accepted on one of these, if you spend within the first few months or so, you go have the full, however long it is, with no interest is added. And you can clear that month by month and hopefully get that balance clear completely by the end. In fact, not hopefully, you need to plan that spending so that balance is zero by the time that 0% period ends. The longest ones here are up to 21 months. There's no guarantee you will get that. That's Lloyds Bank and Sainsbury's Bank. Incidentally, I should say that Sainsbury's Bank credit cards often come with some welcome bonuses from Nectar. However, it looks like they're all ending the day I'm releasing this on Sunday, the 8th of August. Those offers all end. It could be there are some new ones that come into play from the 9th or later in the month. I will let you know next month if they come along. But at the moment, at the time of recording this, they're due to end Sunday, 8th of August. Anyway, up to 21 months with Lloyds Bank and Sainsbury's Bank. Guaranteed 20 months with M&S Bank and Barclaycard. If you're accepted, don't forget to do those eligibility checks first of all. And also, I mentioned going via cashback sites, Top Cashback and Quidco. Go via them up to 30 quid, normally between 20, 25 pounds, sometimes up to 30 quid for 0% purchase cards from Santander, Tesco, TSB and Barclaycard. So they might work out, even if the length at 0% is a bit shorter than those leading ones, you're getting yourself a little bit of extra cash on top. So they're well worth checking out. Next up, we have 0% balance transfer credit cards. These are fantastic if you have existing debts that are costing you a lot of money in interest. Credit card debts, you can transfer it from one card, your existing card, charging you what, 20, 30, 40%, move it to a new card, which is at 0% for a set amount of time. You need to, again, try, if you can, clear that debt in that length of time. Same with the 0% purchase credit cards. The longest ones here are up to 29 months with Sainsbury's Bank, HSBC or M&S Bank. So you potentially could get a decent chunk of time there, 2.5 years where there's no interest on your debt. So you're just paying down the debt and not getting charged interest on top. However, when you do this transfer, particularly the longer ones, there is a fee. The Sainsbury's Bank one could be 2%, which is the lowest, could be 3%. The HSBC and M&S Bank ones, it's 2.75% of the debt that you move over. That's really important you factor this in because ideally, well, it depends how you're going for. If you need a certain amount of time to pay off that debt, so you know you can clear it in a certain amount of time, then length is important. If you think you can clear it sooner, then you want to go for the lowest possible fee, which might reduce how long you've got at 0%, but again, make it much cheaper. And in fact, Santander does an 18-month 0% balance transfer credit card with no fee. So if you can clear that debt in a year and a half, it won't cost you a thing to do it. Once more, Quidco and Top Cashback has some bonuses up to 25 quid with the likes of Santander, Tesco, Barclaycard. So do check those ones out as well. Before you apply, it might work out cheaper to go for one with a slightly higher fee but the cashback than go for one with no cashback and a slightly lower fee. You need to do the maths though to work that out. Very similar are the 0% money transfer credit cards. This is where you transfer the money from the new credit card that you get, which doesn't charge you any interest for a set amount of time, into your bank account. So you can use it to clear overdraft, you can use it to clear catalogue debts, things like that. Anything which you can't transfer with a balance transfer credit card because it's not on a credit card. The leading ones there up to 18 months with MBNA. But again, check out Quidco and Top Cashback because there is a Tesco Bank money transfer credit card where you can get £20 cashback factored in there. And again, that might really help you with that transfer fee that's involved in that card. And finally, the last one, credit building credit cards. If you have got a bad credit rating or a non-existent credit rating right now and you want a credit card to try and demonstrate to the credit reference agencies that you are responsible with credit, you can borrow money and pay it back every single month. There are a number of them out there. There isn't a top card because the best card in that situation is the one that's going to accept you. Remember, that eligibility checker. I said I'm going to mention it a few times. It is so important. However, you can get a little bit extra. Again, Barclaycard is available with a £20 cashback, the Barclaycard Forward card via Quidco and Top Cashback. So a little bit of extra money while you're doing it. And likewise, the Amazon Classic credit card. Again, if you're accepted for it, if you're eligible for it, you will get a £20 Amazon voucher to do that. Just remember with this one, really, really important, as important with all the others, possibly more important though, that you do clear that entire balance every single month. And you don't have to put a huge amount on there. But again, I've got loads more content about these elsewhere. Now, if you found this useful, if you like this video, let me know in the comments below. What do you think of those changes to American Express? What do you think of this new Lloyds Cashback credit card? I'd love to hear your thoughts on these. My name is Andy Webb. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. And here are a couple more videos you might find interesting.